Hello everyone, hope everyone is safe and fine. So in last video we had completed with the TypeScript basics. If you have missed the video, so do watch all the parts of the TypeScript videos. There are three parts. You can watch it in my channel, Code with this guy. You can also send your queries in comment or mail to me, which is mentioned in the last slide. And it's also written in the description box too. So if you have liked the video, don't forget to subscribe the video and hit the bell button for regular updates. So let's start with the advanced type of TypeScript. Before I start with the video, if you are familiar with the object-oriented concepts, then you can learn the further concepts quickly. But if you have not, then you can check concepts in detail in website. But we will cover most of the concepts in this slide. So let's start. So as we know, TypeScript is an object-oriented JavaScript, which means it supports object-oriented programming features like classes, interface, inheritance, polymorphisms, and etc. So what exactly is a class? So class is a blueprint of creating objects which has data members and member functions encapsulated or can be said as wrapped in terms of object oriented programming. So this is the basic definition which we have learnt in our college levels in every books in Java, in C or C++, in all the object oriented books. So a class basically has contains a four properties fields, which is a variable which is declared in a class, methods which represents the action for the object. Then we have the constructors which is responsible for initializing the object in memory, and nested class and interface. Interface means a class which contains another class. So basically, class is a compiled object-oriented programming languages which are compiled in TypeScript, and then it's converted into JavaScript and which runs across all the browsers. Already we know that TypeScript is converted into JavaScript to run on the web browser. Basically, our web browser supports JavaScript. So in the example that you are looking at, we have created a student class in which we have two variable, stud code and stud name, which is declared, and there is a constructor which is clearly defined and placed inside a class. So in get grade function which we have created, we are returning the expected value. So you can see here in the class there are data members, constructor, and functions which are wrapped into a single class, also said as encapsulation. So this is the concept of data encapsulation too. So you can if an interviewer asks you what is a data encapsulation, you can simply say wrapping of data members and member function into a single class can be said as a data encapsulation. So moving further, let's study about the objects. So basically object is an instance of the class, so it can be any name. So a class creates an object by using the new keyword followed by the class name. So you can see the syntax in the slide. We have created object name, and using new keyword we have defined it for the class name. So object So this new keyword allocates some memory to create an object at runtime. So in the example, you can see obj is the object name created for the class student. There is no limitation. You can create multiple objects for multiple classes. There are three ways of object initialization. First is by reference, then we have method, and lastly we have by constructor. So if we create a class, then it's necessary to create an object to call that class. Or if we want to call any function which is inside a class, then we have to create an object to initiate that. So moving further, we are looking into a most important concept which we are using in many languages like Angular and React. So this is the getter and setter. So as the name suggests, getter is something in which we get the values, and setter is something in which we set the values. So getter method starts with keyword get and setter method starts with set keyword. Getter is called accessor, which returns the value of properties value. You can see in the example we have created a getter function named as age, which returns the age, and method is a mutator which updates the property value. So also you can see in the example, we have declared a setter function age where we have condition that if the age is less than 0 or greater than 200, then we throw an error message, or else we assign the value. So the parameter which we take, you can write an input box in the HTML, and you can call the function there and set the function. It's upon the developer how we initiate use the functions. So we use getter setter more in Angular when we use subject behavior subject, or we want to communication between two components, or can be called as two pages. That we'll be learning when we will be starting with Angular sessions. So next is the another concept which is called inheritance. So inheritance is a concept where you can create a new class from the existing class. So basically, it acquires the properties and behaviors of a class from another class. Class whose members are inherited can be called as base class or the superclass, and the class that inherits those members can be called as derived class or the subclass. If we ask why inheritance is needed, then we can say it can be used for code reusability. You can extend the base class, and another is the method overriding. You can see in the image there is an Audi which is a subclass or a derived class, and there is a car function which is a base or the superclass. So the relationship here is one to one. You can create n number of derived class from a single base class. In the above example, the Audi class extends the car class by using the extends keyword. It means the Audi class can include all the members of the car class. By constructor of the Audi class initializes its own members as well as parents class properties. So car here is basically a parent class, and Audi is a child class. So there can be a different class like Mahindra, like Tata. So Audi is one child class. So the super keyword is used to call the parent constructor and its values. So as I mentioned, there can be n number of derived class from a single base class. So here we look at the different types of inheritance. There are five types of inheritance starting from single, which we saw in the earlier slide. Then we have multi-level, hierarchical, multiple, and hybrid inheritance. So in single inheritance, class B is the child class and class A is the parent class. In multi-level, class A is the parent class, class B is the child class, and class C is the child class for class B. So we can say a car can be a class A, which is a parent. Audi can be a class B, and Audi Q4 or Q6 can be class C, which is the parent for Audi. Then we have a hierarchical inheritance, which where class B and class C are the child class, but we give the functions or the members to the parent class. So basically, parent class invokes the members of the child classes. So there can be a scenario where we need parent component needs the any functions which are written in the child function. Then we have multiple inheritance, where there are class A, class B, and class C, where class C inherits either class A or either class B. Then is the hybrid, where class A inherits to class B or class C or class D, but it should be like class A to class B to class D, or either class A to class C to class D. So this is a hybrid technology. Next, we have interfaces. So if we say about interface, it acts like a contract in our application. So it defines the syntax for the classes to follow. Means a class which implements an interface is bound to implement all its members. We cannot use interface to build anything. It contains only the declaration of the methods and fields, but not the implementation. So syntax is defined in the it has a keyword interface and a body which contains variables and method declaration. So in the example, we have created an interface OS with properties, names, and language of the string type. Next, we have defined a function with one argument, which is the type of the interface OS. Interfaces are used to validate specific structure of properties, objects which are passed as parameters, and objects which are written from the function. So if we say in a real-time scenario, if there is an API which has a JSON body and we want always that JSON body should be declared in such a way, like a variable in a JSON body should be a number always, or should be a string. Then we create a interface, and we call that interface before invoking the API. If by chance there is a change in backend, then there will be no breakage or no loss of code in the front end. So this ends the topics for advanced TypeScript. Hope I have you have liked the video. I have covered most of the things which are important. There are much more things which you can learn from the web or in the mentioned URL which I have written in the description box. Don't forget to subscribe the channel. We'll be starting with new topics soon. Like, comment, and share the video. See you in the next video. Thank you.